Hello, everyone. I'm Jawad, founder of Expertpin. Expertpin is a platform where we're connecting experts with the audience, where these experts that are live on the platform are helping people by providing guidance and insights from their experiences and exposure. That is where we are helping the people to scale in their career and their personal growth. Uh, I have with me Marta Wasowicz. Um, and she is one of the experts on the platform. A bit about her: she is the founder of the Leadership Factor. She is a leadership coach and working with professionals to help them in their career. Previously, she held positions in LinkedIn and big names in several companies as a recruitment expert. So I'm going to hand it over to her so that she can explain about her experience and what her experience has been so far with Expertpin. Hi, Martha. How are you?
Hi, Jawad. I'm very well, and I'm really pleased to be here. Thank you for inviting me. I'm also super excited to be one of the experts on Expertpin. It's an amazing platform. I've already connected with several individuals, had several really fruitful conversations with people that probably I normally wouldn't have come across, or they wouldn't have come across me. So thanks for setting it up, Jawad. I'm really pleased to be part of that experience. A little bit about me, like Jawad, you mentioned, I'm a coach. I'm a career coach at the moment, and I think I've actually always been. I've had a successful career in the recruitment industry, working for several FTSE 100 large brands, Sky, Dell, EMC, Samsung along the way, and more recently, LinkedIn, Indeed. But I think after my time at LinkedIn, I decided I wanted to become a professional career coach and professional executive coach, and that's now more than 6 months ago that journey started. So yes, really excited to share some of the expertise today with you.
Perfect. Similar journey. I think we started off at the same time, different journeys, but the same timing. I think this is happening only because of Expertman that we are joining together on a call like this, where we are trying to help people and so that more and more people can, connect with you on the platform and gain from your experience. So yeah, so the purpose of this session is to have some questions. And the idea is that since you have been part of the platform for a while and you have been interacting with people, and we also have some common questions that we are getting from experts and from the professionals that are raising different questions and different from different experts. So the idea is, since you're the expert in the area, I'm going to push through some questions to you, and then maybe from your experience you can shed some light. Okay, so the first one was when you joined the platform, and I was looking at the profile before we had our first call. You specifically mentioned on the profile that there are clear reasons as to why some people scale faster in their career, and there are certain reasons why even when the people are good at what they do, they struggle, right? So I was intrigued, and I had the similar questions to what you think about that, right? So I think for the larger audience, it's very important that you focus on that area and come up with some certain aspects that people should know about as to what they should be focusing on, and the areas that are no goes for them to in their career. So over to you.
Yeah, happy to do that. And you know what? It's such a massive question, Jawad, that I think there's probably multiple answers to it, but I'm gonna give you the answer that I think I distilled from my 20 years career, my own personal struggles and wins professionally and personally, and also what I've observed with candidates, with people that I promoted, or whenever I was part of the succession planning boardroom conversations, and hearing other leaders talk and what they look for in their in their next person that they want to have be their successor. So I think I can probably distill it into two major factors, and these are big sort of labels and generalizations I'm going to use, but I think that's going to help some of our listeners. One is people don't really know what they want in their career. They don't know why they want it. And also they don't really know who they are professionally, right? They might observe other individuals around them getting promoted fast, maybe getting the next level, and they want the same, but it might not necessarily be the right thing for them, or maybe this is not what truly deeply defines them. So the first thing, really, if you want to figure it out, I would start with figuring out yourself, who you are professionally, and of course, a little bit personally. What are your values? That's super important, and that will really drive your happiness and success in your career. And then what you want in terms of your goals, and then why you want it. Are they yours, or are they sort of the influence from around you? And that, by the way, in itself, not even talking about a plan yet of how to get there once you figure out who you are and what you want professionally, that in itself, that kind of knowing and sort of being settled in who you are, that will give you that natural confidence, and that will give you that sense of purpose and direction. And believe me, that will project very different type of energy around you, and people who interview you, people who work with you, your managers, your superiors, your colleagues, they will really pick up on it. And they will pick up on it from the perspective of, oh, Jawwad has this leadership vibe about him. He really knows what he wants. He's confident, and people will feel secure and safe around you. So that's the first thing that I would say. The second thing, once you figure all of that out, is the how. And now we get to the nitty gritty. There's a couple of things I can mention here around, specific types of influence you can use, and actually the 3 reasons why I believe people don't progress with their career, or they don't get promoted. But let me pause here and see if you have any thoughts on what I just mentioned.
So I think when thoughts are aligned, I think what you mentioned is particularly important. All I can summarize from your comments is that it's important to know what, then to know why, and then how.
Yeah.
Right. So as part of the leadership coaching that you do, and particularly when we spoke in the last time as well, you mentioned specifically that people generally do not know what they want, and that is why they are struggling, only because they have the skills, but they don't know where they want to land. Right. So that becomes the tricky part for them. So I think around that, as a follow-up, so somebody reaching out to you, not knowing where they want to land, right? So somebody with you, like a lot of the skills, but not knowing the area they should focus on. So how do you start with, like, in a couple of comments, how do you work with the people so that people can know when they reach out to you and they don't know their how and why and what? So what will be the first steps that you will take them through to help them with the journey?
You see, that's where actually coaching comes in, because what I use, and what I've used also in my past life, professional life as a leader, I used a combination of coaching and mentoring, 2 very different things, right? So just very quickly for those of you who may not necessarily know the difference, or maybe are not clear about the difference. When someone is coaching you, they're mostly they're not using their expertise. It doesn't matter who they are professionally, doesn't matter the years of experience. Their skill is asking you insightful, very powerful questions that enable you to come up with your own answers, and very often dig into the reservoirs of skill and ability that you have already. You just don't know how to tap into that yourself. So that's the coaching bit. If we're talking about, for example, building specific plans on how to get somewhere, that's where mentoring comes in. And that's where I, for example, tap into my experience as a recruitment leader, where I can share with you, okay, so how do you actually present yourself in interviews? Or even taking a step back, how do you even look for a job, both internally within your company or externally? How do you write a CV? How do you build your personal brand so that you're that preferred candidate? And that's where mentoring comes in, and that's where I tell a little bit more than ask. So yeah, just a little bit of definitions here. Now, to answer your question, Jawwad, that coaching part is really just digging deeper into what are your values. That's usually where I start with. What's important for you in life? Because someone might have conflicting values. Like, for example, yesterday I was talking with a gentleman who really wants to progress with his career. He told me, look, Marta, I feel I've been really stuck for a couple of years. There's no movement in my career, but I really want to progress. I feel like I don't really have the motivation. Like, I lose motivation after a few days of getting into the new plan. And through a set of questions, we actually discovered that what he really wants is running his own business. He wants to be an entrepreneur rather than move through the career ladder and become a bit more successful. So it turned out that it's not that he was losing his motivation, it's just that he was putting his energy into the wrong thing. So that why and the values and what you really want in life, how you want your life to look like, and therefore how your career could serve that, that's the very important thing to start.
That's great. By the way, just to give people some example about it, for example, when I was starting off with Expertpin, I was generally speaking to people and helping, a couple of people around, and maybe some people that were part of my care professional group, right? And then I started thinking about what sort of things that I should be doing in terms of connecting the right people with the right set of expertise, and then I started off by looking at I should be investing more time in developing sort of platform where there are experts and there are people, right? So it's a multiplier effect for me as well, right? So when I'm now putting 10 hours of my work, I now know that the multiplication is happening behind the scenes, where someone like you or tens of other experts are joining the same cause, and they are also excited about the thing that, at the end of the day, when they see the impact in the people that they are talking to, it's a natural win for them as well. And anyone who's interested in creating an impact wants to see that impact being translated into the people that they are connecting to. So
yeah. That's an amazing example, by the way, Jawwad. And I'm going to refer to the cliche of, people say that, look, if you do what you love for work, it doesn't feel like you're working a day in your life. And we all heard that, but that is so true when you're doing something that you're truly passionate about. So yeah, kudos to you that you've discovered that.
That's great. Okay, so next part, right? So personal branding. So what I want to ask about personal branding is that there are a lot of people now in the digital era where they're traditionally seeking jobs, right? They're reaching out in mails or maybe in messages where they blindly send you a message, just keeping as layman as possible so that people can relate to it, right? So reaching out to professionals without any context and so on and so forth, right? So personal branding, when we look at it for current space, how is this impacting right now in translating into a real opportunity for professionals? And how important to you this looks when somebody in the starting part of their careers, and now they have like couple of years of experience. How do you see this impacting them, so that what are the guiding principles for them to start looking at personal branding into something that maybe can translate into a bigger opportunity in like maybe 12 months or 24 months, right? So it's not a day job, but for anybody to look at it and make this part and parcel of the process that we are running behind the scenes. So what do you think about that, and what's your take on this?
Yeah, thank you. And you know what, personal brand, I think again, it's a buzzword. Maybe over the last, I don't know, recent months, maybe even recent couple of years. But of course, it's always been important, right? I mean, who you are and what you bring to the table when you're sitting during the interview, not just your skills, your experience, your technical abilities. That's important, and that's always been important. But the reason why I feel it's probably a bit more important now than ever is this interesting I guess pattern that I've been observing, or maybe over the last year in the recruitment industries and how companies operate. It's a little bit of a dichotomy where, on one end, a lot of the, I would say, more advanced companies in terms of more maturity culturally, they would talk about skills-based hiring. They would talk about transferable skills. They would talk about hiring someone for their potential and what the similarities that they've had in past jobs, rather than just hiring someone like for like with the exact same job title, right? So we're talking about transferable skills. We're talking about a little bit more, I would say, future type of thinking and more mature type of thinking on the basis of the companies. But then simultaneously, at least in most of the countries at the moment, particularly Western Europe, particularly the US, it's no surprise at the moment due to the economy that it is more of an employer's market. So that means that employers suddenly have such a plethora of candidates to choose from, and they can be choosy, and unfortunately they are choosy. And what that means is a lot of the times they are unfortunately looking for that like for like kind of candidate, right? So they list it's a full wish list of requirements, expectations, experience, education that you have to even be considered for the first stage of the interview. So it's like, how do you operate in that dichotomy kind of market when you're a candidate? What do you do? Do you showcase your transferable skills, or do you showcase what a great match you are to that particular job? I don't actually think there's one answer, and I'm going to probably disappoint the listeners here, but there's one thing I would say is that what you can do is actually probably focus on building relationships and network. I would say that that's more important than ever, because when you can present yourself as a human being, as someone that's relatable, as someone who maybe can be really great to work with, right? Someone who has that fantastic potential, even though you might miss a few things on your CV. If you know someone in the company that you want to work for, reach out to them, build relationships, find out who the hiring manager for the types of roles that you're interested in is. Maybe reach out, build a relationship, schedule a virtual coffee chat or a face-to-face coffee chat, right? Really try to get out there and build relationships, because then people will remember you for who you are as a person rather than what kind of list of skills and experience do you have on your CV. So that's where I say personal brand comes into play, where the personal word is really important here. Personal meaning, be more personal in relationships, even if it's reaching out to someone on LinkedIn. And that way you can stand out a little bit more from the large crowd of candidates that are out there at the moment and competing for the same jobs.
Yeah. And by the way, just to add to the list, you can also reach out to experts on Expertpin so that
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So that this makes sense. And by the way, just so again to give an example, right? So someone, and I was speaking to as a finance professional, reached out to me, and trying to build a relationship and trying to explain what kind of help I can extend in terms of guiding as to what she should be doing next in the career, right? And towards the end of the call, she was like, I'm struggling with hiring, and I'm looking for a job in these particular companies, and I see that you have worked in one of those. Maybe if you can extend a recommendation or something like that. So yeah, it helps, right?
Exactly.
So the only thing that I would mention here is that people people consider connections as a relationship, which is not, right? So people add each other on LinkedIn just to extend the reach of their post, but then again, you have to reach out to people and extend a relationship in a way where somebody knows you for the kind of skill that you have, so that anything happens in the future as well, they know that there's someone who they've met in the past, and they can always refer to for the kind of opportunity that's being created. That's great. That's
And you
great.
know
So the
what,
third one,
Jawwad,
yeah.
one more hint. Again, I shared this with someone that in one of my recent coaching sessions, a lady who's also looking to completely change her career, and she's completely redefining herself professionally. Comes with its own challenges, but also excitement. One thing I said to her, and I'm going to share this with all the viewers: remember that hiring managers will always value having their own network and having a list of candidates ready whenever there is a job coming up in their team. They don't want to wait for the recruitment team to okay, fine. The recruiter will say, let's talk about the job. Tell me the requirements. Now I'm going to start sourcing. I'm going to start talking to people. It takes time, right? I love recruiters. I know they're doing a fantastic job out there, but I also know how long it takes to find someone. So a hiring manager will always prefer to have their own network of almost ready candidates. So therefore, I really encourage you, reach out to people who are the hiring managers, not necessarily only to recruiters. They will really value that, and they will always want to have a person ready to slot in when a job is ready and available. So yeah, just a hint: when you're investing in those relationships, yes, reach out to recruiters, absolutely, but also reach out to hiring managers.
Perfect. So my third question to you, so about the career trajectory, right? So things have changed in the past. Post COVID,
Yeah.
we have seen that remote jobs are becoming a reality, and then also like more and more advancement that's happening around AI. That there is like significant change happening around career trajectories. So what do you think about the factors that have changed in the past, and people should be aware of? Because somebody who's looking and to grow in the career and still trying to make room for themselves using the old ways, it's not a reality right now. So what has
No.
changed in your perspective, and what are the top things that one should look at and be mindful of when they're reaching and trying to grab those opportunities that are available in the market?
Yeah, it's an important thing to mention. And you know what? This trend has been going on probably for more than a couple of years now, but especially intensifies in times when there's a lot of redundancies. Maybe jobs are scarce. Maybe companies are not investing that much in headcount anymore as they were, even in the recent years, or right post COVID when we had that boom in hiring. What everyone that is, despite all those circumstances, they're still ambitious. They still want to progress with their career internally or externally. What they need to consider is look at career slightly differently, not from the traditional type of, upwards ladder type of career, but also moving sideways and looking at their career from the perspective of gathering valuable experiences and gathering valuable skills and investing in themselves. And all right, it may not sometimes directly translate or immediately translate into a bigger, shinier title or maybe a significantly higher salary. It might be just a side step, but then your next step upwards will be probably twice bigger than if you were to make that step straight away upwards, right? If you were considering the traditional career trajectory. So I encourage everyone to really be more flexible and a little bit more creative in their thinking about their career and building their career. I think especially if you think about, AI and how that might impact workplace, building your skill set and having a much broader skill set and much more like 360 type of experiences is way more important than ever if you really want to be competitive in the future and if you want to be an attractive employee in the future. So yeah, open-mindedness, flexibility, and really investing in yourself more so than your title. That's what I would probably suggest.
Perfect, perfect, perfect. Yeah, I think that makes all the sense because, you know, as for example, it's an era where people need to have multiple skills at the same time, right? So, for
Yeah,
example, somebody in finance need to now have these skills for data, right? And there's no way that you can live for a couple of years onwards if you don't have that skill, because more and more companies are now relying on big data, for example, and they want someone
exactly.
to make sense out of data before producing a financial planning or budget. So that's just a very simple example as to how to put things into perspective. But it was great. I think that's all from my side. I'm going to keep it short so that we have other questions as well. But I'm going to try that we connect later on and we try and grab more feedback from our audience, and then we also connect on a next session. This has been
Mm-hmm.
great. Thanks a lot, Martha, for taking our time, and thank you for being part of the expert community. So over to you, Martha. Ending notes, anything that you would like to share?
It's been fantastic, Jawad. I think the questions are really representative of what I'm hearing from my clients and in those conversations that I've had so far through the platform, through Expertpin. Love the conversation, and yes, cannot wait for more.